All right, we are going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. The Neighborhoods, Community Services, Public Health, and Safety meeting is now in session. It is 9:30, Monday, April 14th at 9:30. We're going to go ahead and start with introductions to my left.
Good morning, y'all. Bill Delaney, Mayor's Office.
Colleen Hampsey, Council Research.
Philip Peterson, Councilor's Office. Good morning, Jimmy Peluso, District 7.
And Amar, District 1.
Good morning, Chris Miller, at-large, Group 5.
Joe Carlucci, District 5.
Ron Salem, Group 2 at large.
Good morning, Michael Boylan, District 6.
Randy White, District 12, just visiting.
And Ms. Stefopoulos just joined us as well. So, with that, we will go ahead and go through the agenda so everyone is on the same page, and then we'll go through and see if we have any public comment cards. I don't see any as of now. Oh. Okay, yeah, if you want to get one, just come up here and get one of these green cards filled out, and we'll make sure you have time to speak. All right, going through the agenda, everybody. And Councilmember Clark Murray just joined us. Thank you. Good to see you. All right, so we are on page 1. Item number 2024-966 is deferred. Item number 2, 2025-0090. There is a LUZ amendment, so committee members just keep that in mind. We will have an LUZ amendment there. I don't believe it's marked on the agenda. And we will have Ms. Stefopoulos explain the amendment. So we first need to get a motion on the amendment when we get there. Item number 3 is deferred. Item number 4 is deferred. Item number 5 is up for action. Item number 6 is deferred. 7 is amend and move. Item number 8 is up for withdrawal, thanks to a new piece of legislation that just went through. So that is already one less bill we have to take up. Item number 9, up for action, no amendments. Item number 10, up for action, no amendments. Item number 11, up for action. 11, up for action. It's Councilmember Johnson, strategic initiatives, funding. Item number 13 is amend and move. We will take that up first. Council President White is also here. Just wanted to acknowledge him on this bill as well. He wanted to make sure that if there's any questions, they got answered. So, number 13, 2025-237 will be the first item we take up. The rest of the items, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, are all second readings. So, we should have a pretty good meeting today. Dare I say anything further to jinx it? Yeah, we're not going to jinx it. It's just going to be a normal meeting, guys. Just a normal meeting. All right, so with that, we're going to go into public comment. First, we have Dr. Joy Gorham-Hervey. Come on down.
Good morning. Through the chair, my name is Dr. Joy Gorham-Hervey. My address is on file. I'm the chair of the PSG Council, and I'm just here to introduce myself and to ask for your support for number 11 on the agenda, which is our recommendations for the categories of most vulnerable persons and needs. Wanted to draw your attention to the fact that we had a lot of comment from the nonprofit community as we were making this deliberation. And so we did our best to keep the categories as similar as possible to what we currently have, with some minor change in light of the increase in acute needs in our community. And so you'll also see that we're recommending a 4th category, but that would be addressed outside of the normal PSG process. And I'm here to answer any questions you may have as you deliberate. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Hervey. And yes, stick around, and we appreciate you being here to speak to that bill. Next, we have Victoria M. Are you here? Just come on down and state your name and address, and we will hear from you.
Good morning.
My name is Victoria Mobley, and I came because I saw that on the agenda there was something about a sign in the Avenue B and 45th area. I live out there near the Avenue B and 45th area, and I've been experiencing multiple break-ins into my home. And it's very strategic. It usually happens when I leave my home, and then by the time I come back, whoever has done it has left. And the activity that is going on there is extensive enough that I needed to come to a city council meeting and discuss it. My Social Security cards keep getting stolen. I get a new one. The intruder comes in, brings my old one back, takes my new one. Now both of them are gone. My birth certificate is gone. I had a $260 cashier's check. That's gone.
Yeah, and Miss Victoria, what your address? We need your address on file, and if you can share kind of what area of town, we might be able to get you in touch with your district council person.
I'm on the north side, Moncrief.
Okay. Is that? Oh. Did you want to? Are you going to the green room, Councilmember?
I didn't know
Okay.
if I had enough time to go into detail. I had it planned out. I didn't know if we were just giving a brief intro and then coming back later, or what.
Well, so for public comment, this is kind of our time to hear from you. But I think what we're going to do is see if we can get your council member down here for you can share a little bit more detail. So if you want to see Councilmember Peluso right here, he'll kind of get you teed up. Okay. All right, where are we? And now we have, next speaker card is John J. Nooney.
Hello, I am John Philanthropic Resiliency Nooney, 8356 Bascom Road. Bascom Road, B as in Bezos, A as in astronaut, S as in space, C as in council, O as in Oscar, M as in movie. We're making a movie. I'll be touching on agenda items 2025-0216, Parks 2024-0966, 2025-0219, Waterways 2025-0256. All right, I had my Jeff Bezos shirt. You got the rocket babes. There's 6 of them. They're going up to space, and we're making a movie. Katy Perry. Call me. Carrie Ann Flynn. She's a film producer. Get in touch with Todd, Red Carpet, JSEB5 Rubin.
All right, thank you, Mr. Nooney. Next,
and get your tickets.
Next, we have Chanel Starks, I think. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, come on out. State your name and address and let us know what we can do for you.
I'm Chanel Starks. I live off Biscayne near the airport. And I'm coming up to address the issues with highway pavement repairs and construction sites. It's been reported on February 7th that the Buttman Bridge 295 South Road will be doing a foundation repairs. But yet there's also temporary finger joint placements on top of the bridge that have caused significant accidents. That's reported. They said the finger joints fix that was made on, I think, July 2021. They said it was temporary. Now that it's 4 years now, and they're reporting foundation repairs. I was wondering when they were going to fix the temporary fix of the finger joints of the Buttman Bridge southbound, and also the I-95 north exits 343 to 348. The pavement is three different type of cements. So
you can continue. Was that the last thing, or?
Yeah, that was the last thing.
Okay. Is there anyone here from maybe the administration or whoever can kind of oversee this that can help? Maybe. Okay. Well, that's great. Okay, ma'am, if you'll go see Chief Ledoux right over here. He's our traffic engineer, and he might be able to give you a little bit better direction and kind of answer maybe some of those questions.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for coming.
No problem.
All right. So with that, we have no other public comment cards, so we will go ahead into the agenda, and as promised, we will go to item number 13 on page 7. First, item number 2025-0237. We have a motion, looking for a second on the amendment. Can someone please explain the amendment?
Through the chair to the committee, the amendment, item number 1 is to correct the appropriation fund to the Emergency Medical Services Fund rather than the general fund. Item 2, marked on your amendment, is not needed. There was some mix-up with the on-file version, the electronic versus the hard copy version, but we've sorted it out. Item 2 is not needed. And so the amendment will be item number 1 and number 3 to correct Scribner's.
All right. With that, is everybody in the queue for the amendment? Or no? Okay. All right. So you have a question on the amendment? All right. Councilmember Morrow, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I may be speaking on the agreement. I'm curious about the ALS stroke vehicle lease. Chief Powers, if you would, can you?
Okay, that's on the bill. So let's go ahead and we'll come right back to you. And all in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The amendment carries. We have a motion and a second on the bill as amended. Now we will go to the queue for the bill. Councilmember Amaro.
Thank you, sir. Chief Powers, through the chair, can you explain just for my edification, I don't have any heartburns or anything, but just want a little bit of clarity in reference to this lease. And is it just one vehicle? I mean, what's so significant about this and the other 40-plus paramedic vehicles that are rolling on the street?
Keith Powers, Fire Rescue, through the chair to Councilmember Amaro. This unit is an absolute game changer for this community. This unit's going to have a mobile CT in the back of it, a 16-slice CT in the back that can, within a matter of a couple minutes, can scan someone's brain to determine what kind of stroke they're having, determine what the appropriate treatment is. There will be a physician, a neurologist from UF Health that will be on call 24/7, that when they respond and get this patient in the back, will be reading those images live time. He also, there's cameras all in the back of the unit, and he can direct treatment from a remote location. There'll be 2 critical care paramedic from JFRD that are on the unit, in addition to a registered nurse that specializes in neurological injury, and a tech that runs a CT. They will put you in there, scan you. The doctor will determine if it's a clot. If it's a clot just causing the stroke and not a bleed, there will be a list of clot busting medications that will be on the unit. He'll direct which one to be given. They'll give it. They transport to one of the 3 comprehensive stroke centers that are in Duval County. Instead of going to the ER and going through the normal rework and the workup process that happens, they'll either go straight to OR or IR, whichever one is needed. They'll then go in if it's a clot and go up through the femoral artery and go in and pull the clot out and start perfusion of the brain again.
Thank you, Chief. Through the chair, this is phenomenal. It's just, I'm in a position as a citizen of this community feeling a wanting for more. And this is just one, given the number of incidents of suspected strokes and TSA attacks. This sounds like it's truly a lifesaver, but it's only one. And that's I guess, the disheartening part about this.
All right. With that, we'll go ahead and go over to Council President White.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I just wanted to add on to what Chief Powers said. Mr. Mayor, this is game-changing. And one of the questions was, there's just one. And we all know, and I won't go too much history, Jacksonville Fire and Rescue was the first fire department in the country to have rescue based at fire department's first hazmat team. And this might not be the first, but there's not many in this country. And for UF to choose us, and what they will do if fire communication gets a stroke protocol, they'll send the closest unit, and this unit will start heading that way. And if it gets verified, they would intercept that unit en route to the hospital and do all these things. It's just amazing. But we're pretty lucky to have this in this city. Thank you.
All right. Councilmember Salem, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Through the chair, I have some more financial questions. Councilmember Amaro's answered my other questions. This unit's based out of the Harts Road, Station 64, as I understand it. Is that correct?
Through the chair to Councilmember Salem, that is correct, sir.
And you have a special staff that you just mentioned that are a part of this unit.
Through the chair to Councilmember Salem, that is correct as also.
And they are separate from the regular staff that would go out on regular calls for Harts Road 64.
Yeah, through the chair, that's correct.
Okay, can you give me some idea historically how many times you think this unit's going to get called out?
Well, I can tell you, through the chair to Councilmember Salem, I can tell you that the numbers have been, obviously trend upward as all of our run numbers do, but we're getting close to 2,000 runs a year that are involving stroke alerts, which are people that are having confirmed strokes within Duval County. That is a very large number. The way the area was chosen, you mentioned the Harts Road, the way that area was chosen was we did heat maps in Duval County and looked at where the most of the strokes are happening. And there's a couple spots, Arlington being one of them, more so in the northwest quadrant of town. That underserved community is the right place to put this unit and where it will have the most impact. The boundaries of its response area is basically going to be, if you drew Duval County in a pie, it's going to be from I-10 north and from the river all the way to the county line. It's going to be that northwest quadrant of Duval County. Now, what Council President White said was that we're still going to dispatch our ALS engines and rescues to the scene. They'll start treatment. If the stroke unit cannot get there before they leave the scene, they will meet up, swap over, the CT will happen, and then like I said, they'll bypass the emergency room and go straight into treatment.
And this staff is special for this. They're waiting. It sounds like they could, on average, get 4 or 5 calls a day. Would you anticipate that being in the ballpark?
Through the chair to Councilmember Salem, I would think it's probably going to be more than that, just based off the numbers that we're having, but especially in that area. But I would say that's a minimum.
Okay. The salary and benefits are paid for by UF Health for this staff. Is that correct?
Through the chair to Councilmember Salem, that is correct. The UF Health received a grant from the state of Florida to put one of these units in Alachua County, one in Duval County, and one in the villages. They are paying for the salary and benefits of the JFRD portion of the staff, and in addition to their staff members, which is the nurse and the tech that's on the unit.
Okay.
They also purchased the unit. The unit's in excess, with that CT is in excess of $1 million. We're going to lease it for $1 a year because we have to do that because we're using our COPCN and our ALS license. For that to happen, we have to be in possession of the unit.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
They're paying for the majority of the cost. They're paying for all the stroke-related meds that'll be on the unit. JFRD is going to be responsible for the $1 a year lease, fuel, and maintenance on the vehicle and the housing of the unit at Fire Station 64.
You have answered all my questions. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
All right, we have Councilmember Amaro for the second time, and then we have Councilmember Arias.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be brief. I just want to piggyback on what President White was saying, that sometimes we're people of culture where we take what we have for granted and often don't acknowledge the quality of what we have. And from its inception to its current status, the Jacksonville Fire and Rescue has been premier. And so this will take it to the next level. As a resident of this community, and I just would like to see more than one vehicle as quickly as possible. One of our colleagues, former Council President Sam Newby, when he had his bout, recently, this would have been phenomenal right then and there. So I'm in full support of it. I was just curious as to why just one. And President White is correct as to the exemplary work that Fire and Rescue has been doing from its inception. If you go back and look at the history from its inception until where it is now, it's been a leader, and it will continue to be a leader with services like this.
Through the chair to Councilmember Romero, what I will tell you is I've already been having conversations behind the scenes with some other area hospitals and challenging them to come be a partner just like UF is being, so that we can get them in other areas of town. And I'll say that those talks have been pretty promising. Not anything solid yet, but pretty promising. So we're working on trying to get other units in other parts of town as well.
All right, and now we will go to Councilmember Clark Murray. You're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Through the chair to Mr. Peterson, in regards to this bill is going to cost over $800,000, and Chief Powers just said that it's Shands is supporting or basically paying for everything. So can you help me with understanding how they're paying, although it's not listed in the bill summary here?
Through the chair to Councilmember Clark Murray, absolutely. So the $855,000 you see right there is the cost of the 7 JFRD employees that will be on this unit. That's a full year's cost for their salaries, benefits, retirement, all that goes into a staff position. We have to budget the full amount so that JFRD can go out and hire those people, and that there's a budget for it. But Shands is going to reimburse the city about $71,000 a month, and at the end of the year, the city and Shands will work together to true up those costs.
Thank you, Chair.
All right, and now we will go to Councilmember Arias. You're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Chief Powers, the unit, I know that Councilmember Morrow stated that there's only one and that's not enough. How many counties in Florida or cities are having this? I think you mentioned Alachua, Duval, and the villages. Are these the only 3 in Florida that will have this kind of unit? And if so, the counties that do have them, how many units do they have in general?
Through the chair to Councilmember Amaris, the only ones I'm aware of right now is Alachua County. Ours is coming, if this body passes this, ours will come online within the next month, and then the villages is scheduled to come on behind that. But other than that, I'm not aware of any elsewhere in the state. In Alachua County, there's only one. There'll only be one in Duval, and there'll only be one in the villages. As big as we are in the number of stroke calls that we have and how game-changing this is, and I could tell stories, what I'll say is the person that would normally, at the end of everything, would be in a nursing home under care for the rest of their life. I have seen countless, at the Alachua County, when I've seen countless people that don't even have to go to rehab, they just go straight back home because the perfusion is of the brain, and they don't have the brain cells that start dying. It is truly a game changer for people. It is going to be, we're going to have story after story of lives that have been changed because of this unit. We need one in more quadrants of the city, but we'll prove concept here like we always do, and then we'll start working on the next ones.
Okay, thank you. Chair, I have one more question. It is a financial question. I guess through the chair to Chief Powers, so UF is paying for this component of I guess, the 7 staff members. Initially, when we were talking about the PATH team, how it is a pilot program, you said that if we don't decide to renew that program, you could use those 7 individuals and move them around. Can they be moved to this if we need to move them, or do we need to hire 7 more staff members in general, or do you already have these 7 staff members in your fleet of employees?
Through the chair to Councilmember Arias, these staff will allow us to hire the 7 staff that we need for this. Just like I said with the PATH team, if the PATH team was to go away, we could absorb those into new units coming online, and we can do the same thing with this unit as well.
Okay, and then this is truly my last question. UF is paying for it. How long are they going to be paying for it? Is it just a 1-year payment, or are they going to do this for the next 5 years? Because what I would like to know is how much is it going to hit us? Like, let's say once UF starts paying for it, how much do we need to pay for salary and benefits for those 7 new staff members?
Through the chair to Councilmember Arias, this is a 3-year agreement with 1-year renewals on it. Continuing is if the staffing was to go away. Or the funding would go away from UF Health for that staffing, the impact would be the $800-something thousand that you see there. But what I'll tell you is this thing is so game changing. I don't see it going away. It is the state has invested a lot of money into these units, and the intent is for them to be around a long time.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, we have no one else in the queue. That did kind of prompt one question for me, Chief. So who gets so the UF is paying for the equipment or the vehicle itself? So with that, after the 3 years, do we get, who gets the vehicle?
To the chair, it's a UF bought vehicle that we lease for $1 a year.
Okay.
If the program was to go away, I'm sure that we would start working on some kind of negotiations with UF Health for that, for that vehicle. But again, that would be something we'd have to bring back to this body.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, for me, just my 2 cents is this is the kind of thing that we should absolutely be spending money on. This is changing lives and saving lives. I would love to see, 2 more, 3 more, 4 more, however many there needs to be in each quadrant, because until it hits somebody close to you, like, past President Sam Newby, it really becomes very apparent very quick. So this is a good thing. It's being reimbursed, and I would hope that the conversation that you and the mayor's office will have with UF is that they can grow this partnership to add more. We've certainly been a good partner to UF. I hope that they'll continue to be a good partner to us as we hopefully expand this program. So with that, Council President White, do you want to bring us on home and we'll vote on this?
Yes, sir. I don't want to belabor this, but I'd like to also add, for the ones that's not aware, Chief Powers and his team several years ago now, we've got 3 critical care units also surrounded the city. If y'all not familiar with those, we won't get too detailed, but they carry blood and all kind of things, doing things that has never been done before in this country. And I wanted to thank him for that. And there's 3 of those. So, and they've got special training paramedics over and above what our normal paramedics is. Thank you, Chief.
All right. Thank you, Chief Powers. Oh, go ahead. Yes,
Mr. Chairman, if I may say one thing.
Sure.
Mr. President, it's now 4. There's 1 in every quadrant, which is kind of the same thing that we envision long-term, the stroke units being able to do, get 1 in every quadrant where they can respond and help those people.
Awesome. Good deal. Well, thank you so much. And with that, we'll open the ballot and record your vote.
8 yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025-237. All right. Yes, sir. Thank you, Council President. All right. We'll go back to page 1. Item number 1, 2024-966 is deferred. Item number 2, 2025-0090. We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Can someone please explain the amendment?
Thank you. Through the chair to the committee. So this is the ordinance that adopts amendments to the 2045 comp plan with respect to a number of the elements in the comp plan. And the LUZ amendment, what it accomplishes is it attaches a revised Exhibit 1, which is the text amendment language showing the strike-through and underline changes to the comp plan, and a revised Exhibit 6, which is the adding a definition of advanced waste treatment and floating solar facility. And the primary purpose of the amendment is to remove the provisions that were being added to the comp plan relative to the missing middle. It strikes those out. And it also addresses a definition of affordable and workforce housing in the goals and objectives and policies, specifically 1.2, Objective 1.2 in the housing element. And Ms. Parola is here, as is Mr. Reingold, if there are any specific questions from the committee for this bill.
All right. Thank you so much. Are there questions on the amendment? Okay. Councilmember Peluso, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Ms. Peralta, if you can come up. So I'm very concerned with this amendment. I'm incredibly concerned with what we're doing in the comp plan. Ms. Peralta, if we remove language specifically when it comes to missing middle, what does that mean for us as a city? What does that mean if we want to do some missing middle activities? Do we have to go through the comp plan amendment process all over again?
The amendment to the comprehensive plan that you have in front of you today strikes the missing middle language as far as those policies looked to encourage the ideas and concepts of the missing middle. But you would still, those concepts would still, if this were still in the document that you see today, it would still have to come to this council for any further action. So any increase in density or any making the zoning code where a missing middle item would fit into that infill parcel. So regardless of whether that policy is in there or not, everything would still have to come back to the council. This is just taking away the city's look forward and encouragement to missing middle policies and concepts.
So this is a policy document in many cases.
It's a policy document. It's like how the city would like to move forward.
To my colleagues, we really kind of saw, I think missing middle, the terminology and the bill that I know Councilmember Diamond, was kind of moving forward for a bit. The connotation of missing middle, I think, has really gotten lost amongst our council. For those of us who live in kind of more dense areas, myself and Councilmember Miller, Councilmember Carlucci, we have a lot of missing middle in our neighborhoods, in our communities, and they are phenomenal for housing options and opportunities, especially for younger people. If we want to make sure that we move as a city in a direction where we want young people to live here and not be broke, right? I mean, I even asked somebody to come down and do a presentation to talk about affordability in Jacksonville, and I think they're going to try to present in front of us in the next couple of committee meetings. I mean, it's getting incredibly expensive just to live here, and we are one of the cheaper, large municipal or metropolitan areas. If we are going to allow, let's say, 100 people to come down and completely change how we as a city are addressing missing middle, which it seems like that happened in the past couple of months, for a city of 1 million people, that we're allowing a few people who I would say are relatively NIMBY in their approach, not in my backyard. People get very concerned about what might happen next door to them. For us as policymakers, it's up to us to properly determine and disseminate the information that comes from our planners, from the people who are experts in their trade, and we're supposed to be able to go to our constituents and explain what missing middle is, how it will affect them, how it will affect these communities, and what the benefits are. I understand the concerns of, some people have said, okay, this might bring more traffic, hey, this might bring more density, hey, this might bring more X, Y, and Z. What it really brings is it puts us in a posture as a city to prepare for proper growth and development in a way that I think makes sense, in a way that has made sense in a lot of different municipal areas. And when you look at cities that have really kind of screwed up their planning, right? And a lot of them are out west. You look at your LAs, you look at your San Franciscos, you look at these places where housing is impossible to get. And it's one of the reasons why we have the massive amounts of homeless and individuals living on the streets out there. We have an opportunity in Jacksonville to make sure that we will never be that. And a lot of it has to do with different housing options and opportunities. I live in a neighborhood. My home's value has skyrocketed. And right next to me is a duplex. Down the street from me is a massive multiplex. There are so many different housing options in our neighborhood, and Councilmember Miller knows the same. Across from him is a old school that turned into multifamily, and the property value there is skyrocketed. So it's just, I want to vote down this amendment. I want to strip the language about removing missing middle. We can't ignore that missing middle is a real opportunity for this city and for the state of Florida, right? The legislature's openly been discussing it more and more, so this might even become moot at one point. But we just need to know as policymakers and as a city council, we cannot ignore what missing middle can bring to the city, and we can't allow for a group of individuals, if we get widespread, pushback, we need to be able to properly explain this to our constituents and why this is a good thing for our city. I want to vote down this amendment. I'd like to take a motion. Oh, I guess we just voted down. Please vote this down. We do not need this amendment in our comp plan. This is not what's in the best interest of our city, nor is it what our experts have been suggesting. Thank you.
All right. And Councilmember Boylan, are you on the amendment? All right, you're recognized.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Chair, I don't want to repeat what Mr. Peluso said. I just want to remind my colleagues, when we did the CQLI 2.5 years ago, the concept of diversifying our housing in all neighborhoods was high on the list in terms of recommendations. And from what Ms. Prola said, and thank you for that, Ms. Prola, would you mind to come back up? Obviously, As drafted by the Planning Commission, or the Planning Department, the bill was obviously recommended by the Planning Department, but also fully then approved by the Planning Commission. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that the concept of missing middle, to your point here, allows the opportunity for us to address that going forward. To your point, it still has to come back to council. So the taking it out of the bill, to me, as Councilmember Peluso says, sends a message that saying we don't want to diversify our housing in our communities by purposely taking this out as an amendment. So I won't be supporting the amendment as well. But I would ask perhaps Councilmember Romero through the chair, as a member of the LUG, if you could help me understand the rationale, or Mr. Arias, if you prefer. I assume you introduced the amendment, given some comments you've made prior. Either one. I'd love to hear the conversation as to the rationale for pulling it out when, in fact, we want the comp plan to be an inclusive document that allows us to understand the options available to us. So, through the chair to Mr. Romero.
Thank you, Councilmember Boylan. Through the chair, I want to address two things. Number one, Councilmember Peluso said that the concept of missing middle may be lost on council members. The reality is it has not been lost on our community. Community has a full understanding as to what it means. The second thing that in my support of the amendment and pushing forward, is that this planning department can still allow intensified zoning or zoning changes in communities. It doesn't need a mandate from Tallahassee or any place else to say that we're going to put a duplex over here or a quad over here or anything like that. It just means that they all have to go through the normal process. This is perceived, unfortunately, by our constituents, not necessarily a NIMBY perception, but it's perceived as they're pushing something down our throats and we don't have a voice in it. And so having this language removed still allows the process to work as it currently works, and therefore, in the eyes of me and my constituents, currently it is not necessary.
If I might, Mr. Chair,
you still have the floor.
to follow up on that, two thoughts. Number one, I think having it in the comp plan, and to your point, if it's not in the comp plan, then we can still do it. So why not have it in the comp plan? Because now we're showing true transparency by saying we recognize that the concept, and I understand the missing middle concept has got a bad reputation up to this point in time. I think it was wise for Councilmember Diamond to withdraw his two bills so we can spend more time on working on it. I thought the thoughtful work that the Planning Commission, the Planning Department had been doing on this was appropriate. So I'm just really frustrated by the fact that we're not willing to say that this is a possibility here. Again, for this to be a statement of this council that we care about providing the opportunity for people to stay in the neighborhoods that they grew up in, to buy a house or duplex in that area, for those who want to downsize to stay in the neighborhood because there's a possibility of a duplex or townhome in their neighborhood that they can live in and still go to the same church and schools, et cetera, that they and families that they support. So I'm just really frustrated by the rationale for taking this out. Inclusion is what we should be about, including it as an option going forward. To your point, Mr. Councilmember Romero, that we can still do this regardless being here or not. I think it's pandering to those who didn't understand what missing middle was all about. So I won't be supporting the amendment.
All right, Councilmember Clark Murray, on the amendment? All right, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Through the chair to basically the committee. I respect Councilmember Peluso's statements as well as Councilmember Boylan's, but one of the issues that I have, especially with the missing middle aspect, I've looked at the planning department's report in regards to this particular ordinance, and their report has population growth projections from 2020 to 2045. And in looking at those projections, the greatest amount of growth is anticipated in the greater Arlington Beaches area, the southeast area, southwest. However, the missing middle, if you look at that map that was associated with Councilmember Diamond's bill, missing middle was more northwest, more north than anything else, but those are the areas that have the least amount of projected population growth. So the bill and the map that was associated with those two bills do not match with what the projected population growths are. So that's one of the issues that I have with the missing middle. Because the missing middle, if we're actually trying to do more infill, then that map would have reflected that there should be more missing middle, and it was color coded. I don't know if you all still have your copy. I know I have my copy at home. It reflected more growth in the areas such as District 9, District 10, District 8, where there isn't that much of a population growth projection. Okay. And there was some 7, you're right, some 7, but it was predominantly where African Americans lived in District 7. And I appreciate Councilmember Peluso's comment in regards to home value. Boy, I think about it every day when I drive to work on Hendricks Avenue, headed to the DuPont area. I see homes that are exactly like my mid-century ranch that are worth $500,000 on that side of town. But where I live, mine is worth about $200,000. And so there's a huge disparity there. So you cannot say that because they built a particular apartment complex next to your home and your value you're skyrocketed. That was great. That's not going to happen in District 9 where I live. And so one of my questions, and not just to this body, but to the whole process in regards to how do we determine value of homes? Because once again, a home my size, same age, same layout, and I probably have more property than they do. In fact, I'm sure that I do because I have like a quarter of an acre, but less value. So if we can't start comparing sides of town to another side of town, especially when it comes to disparity in value, there's a huge disparity in value when you have a particular structure next to your home. Thank you, Chair.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Clark Murray. Councilmember Morrow, you still in the queue? Did you want to continue? Nope, you're done. All right. Let's go to Councilmember Salem for the first time.
Thank you, Chair. I will be supporting the amendment, and Councilmember Morrow, in his wise comments, pretty much captured my thoughts, but I want to reinforce a couple things. Number one, I think the public understands this better than we think they do. I can assure you, in my experience recently, in the Arlington area where I've gotten involved in a couple of these, they clearly understand. And the one point I would reinforce that has not been said is your house is generally your largest investment that any of us have, in general. I bought my house in 1983. I'm still there, so it's not my key investment anymore. It was in 1983, I can assure you. But people are fearful of what might be happening. I mean, we had a situation where people are putting housing, townhomes, looking over a fence at them, and they are absolutely petrified of what's going to happen to their largest investment. And we have to be aware of that. And we have to be sensitive to that. And I think pulling this back and and clearly this type of housing is appropriate in certain parts of our city. The Riverside Avondale area being one of them. Clearly it's been successful and it works, but other areas of town it doesn't work. And people are fearful. So I think pulling this back, doing it on an individual situation, but there's a lot more education that needs to occur. And because I can tell you, people are absolutely petrified of what might happen to them. And I don't know how we address that, but it will bog down this city council, LUZ, if we're not able to resolve it in a way that people are comfortable with. Thank you.
All right, we're going to go to Councilmember Arias for the first time, Councilmember Peluso for the second time, Councilmember Boylan for the second time, and then we will see where it goes. Councilmember Arias, recognized.
Thank you, Chair. And like Councilmember Salem just stated, it's all about the people. The reason why we're having this conversation right now is because the people have spoken. Now, this has been heavily debated at LUZ multiple times, and quite frankly, at City Council as well. And Mr. Peluso, the reason why we're removing this, the reason why I proposed to amend it and then Mr. Romero added more to the amendment was because ultimately there was zero community input in this piece of legislation, in this comp plan. And so the fact of the matter is that it's not necessary. We can still do this case by case. We don't have to have a blanket statement across the city that says language such as shall, and the words saying permitting for parking reduction or permitting increased density for corner lot duplexes in all zoning districts. Like, not every zoning district, not every part of the city is created the same, and they have different dynamics. We saw this happening in Arlington maybe a month ago at LUZ and in council, where they wanted to remove a church or sell a church and put some apartments in a sea of just single-family homes. It doesn't fit, and so you just can't mandate a blanket statement across the entire city. I agree with you. Our city is growing, but we had to take things piece by piece, and this is why I decided to amend this, because we need the community input, and without the community input, this piece of legislation shouldn't be enforced. Secondly, you saw a very bad example of what almost happened, and obviously we fought for the community, but Mr. Diamond's piece of legislation was going to go from LDR from 7 units per acre to 30 units per acre. That's ridiculous, and this is why we're here in this position. So the good news is that I have a meeting this week with Ms. Erin Abney, with Helena Parola, Ms. Bott from the community as well. We're going to address LDR and missing middle. It's just addressing it in a way that it makes sense for the community to have community input, not just rushing it, because that's essentially what was happening. It was rushed, it was haste, and essentially it was just jamming things into the neighborhoods that just shouldn't have been done. So because we are in the time point right now, Ms. Helena, that we have to have the comp plan updated, this is why we decided to just pull this out. That doesn't mean that we're just going to disregard it. We are going to address it. We're going to address it in a way that's just more conducive for all of Jacksonville, not just for the missing middle, and that's it. Thank you.
All right, Council Member Peluso for the second time.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, the comp plan is a planning document. It is a living, breathing document, and it's meant to be a long-term plan for our city. Some of the comments here, I'm glad that you're going to be meeting with some of our planning folks. And Ms. Perola, if you can come up real quick. Have there been community meetings involving the comp plan? I assume that's a part of the process, is it not?
For this EAR-based amendment, yes, it's been through an evaluation period in 2013, and it's also been through the transmittal round, and now we're here at the adoption round. That involves a citizen information meeting, which is a virtual meeting that we have. All of our documents are then shared with the CPACs at every legislation ordinance. It's the same with our land use amendments. And then it went through the normal hearing process. But because these were state requirements, we kept it at that, not realizing.
Understood. I mean, yeah, this is not meant to be a super controversial document, right? Nor is this language, to me, controversial at all. It's basically saying what you want to do is perfectly fine, still within the confines of the document, right? It's saying, like, we will look at missing metals. This doesn't say that LDR goes from 7 to 30. It says we'll look at LDR going from 7 to 30 or something else, which, that's a conversation that we should have as policymakers as well. To the point of what my lovely colleague from District 9 has said, again, this is Comp Plan 2045. So it's not about what District 9 looks like today. It's about what it could look like by 2045, right? It's not about what Arlington looks like today. It's about what it could look like by 2045. We must look at what the future can and should be, what we desire it to look like. Before you had mentioned, we're seeing where people are moving into the city based on, the current comp plan assumptions. That's because those are the areas where there's the most vacant land, right? So that's why those areas were determined as such. If we were to do missing middle and actually encourage more construction in some of these areas, then it would encourage more people to go to District 9, 8, 10. And with more young families going in those areas, it's going to help change those communities and those neighborhoods to a place where now we have people with more established income levels, right? To the parts of my district where I think missing middle could be very advantageous, it's where it's much older and where there's not, everyone's on fixed income, We need more young families moving into these communities. Councilmember Romero says, as you know, we can do things as it currently works. Well, it doesn't work, right? The development community will do whatever is easiest. And so they don't want to go through the land use and rezoning process, right? To the level that, because we see the stuff that they go through. They're just going to say, okay, if this is not an option to me, I'm going to go with the easiest, cheapest option. And so that's why we consistently see more single-family homes being built. This document helps tell us and tell our planning department, yes, we understand that the way we're doing things is not working to the level that we want. If everyone has to go through the massive LUZ process that we currently see now, it's much more arduous. If you give me one more.
Couple more seconds.
Thank you, sir. To the commentary by Councilmember Salem, you're saying that there's fear out there. I think we're helping to breed that fear. I think that we are not properly explaining what missing middle is and what the value is. You mentioned, people overlooking homes. I've had individuals come into my district saying these are things that we want to build, and I specifically said that to them. I'm like, you don't want to build that in those communities because you've got homes you're going to overlook. We could put certain criteria, especially in future documents, saying, okay, you cannot overlook other people's homes. You cannot build a 25-story tower. That's perfectly within our rights to do. But to say that missing middle is a scary thing, that people should be afraid, that's very, very wrong. If we want young people to move here, if we want young professionals here, if we want our communities to see a resurgence of opportunity and hope, we need more different housing stock. That's the reason why Riverside Avondale got to the level that it was at. If we look at the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, it was a different place than it is now. Let's just put it that way. But I've gone over time. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you. Councilmember Boylan, you're recognized.
Thank you, sir. I'll be brief. Just two comments. Number one, during the CQLO process, we had many, many meetings focused specifically on affordable housing. And the conversation, and there were 75 to 80 people or 100 people at these meetings. So the conversation of the concept of missing middle was well vetted through that process, introduced by Bill Killingsworth, as a matter of fact, at the time the head of the planning department. He understood it. The unintended consequences of us ignoring the prospect of diversifying our housing is going to continue to evolve into situations like we see on Bartram Parkway, we see in Gate and Kernan. We're going to see these monolithic multifamily areas, and we're going to be creating two different Jacksonvilles as a result of that. So we need to be very sensitive to the fact that missing middle is a bridging document, a bridging opportunity to mix and diversify our community. So, I thank you, Mr. Arias, and I appreciate the fact that you're going to move forward with this thing. The fact that it's not in this bill is disappointing to me. I won't support the amendment, but I will support the bill, only because I think. But if you assure us that this conversation will continue, then I'm okay as to where the bill is going. Thank you, sir.
Councilmember Clark Murray, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Ms. Parola, if you would come up, I have a quick question. Oh, thank you. There you are. Good morning to you again.
Morning.
So I know you mentioned, and I know I've been at LUZ where this was discussed on several occasions, and I know that we have the opportunities for public comment during City Council, LUZ. You mentioned CPACs. Was there any opportunity just for a general public meeting where people could come and express their opinions at an hour or hours where people are most likely to be off work, like maybe a 5:30 to 7 meeting or 6 to 7 meeting held, even if it was held here at City Hall? Were there more opportunities for people to come and talk about their opinion in regards to this particular bill?
No, we did not have a meeting like that. We had the citizen information meeting, which is a virtual meeting, which is sometimes well attended because it's easier that way, virtually at 3 o'clock. And then the packets of information along with a planner from the planning department would be there at the CPAC meetings when they would review these documents.
Okay.
In those cases. If there were any type of, if we heard from the public more at that point, then we probably would have moved forward with additional meetings to explain. But at that time, especially through transmittal round and through the assessment period, there were no concerns.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for that, Ms. Parola. Through the chair to my council colleague, Mr. Peluso. So once again, the numbers that I referenced are from the projections, and these projections, let me put on my glasses so I can read properly. City of Jacksonville, this is the source of those numbers that I read earlier. City of Jacksonville Planning and Development Department, the University of Florida, the Bureau of Economic and Business Research. Where they said the most growth will be was not represented by the map that was supposed to be the missing middle in Jacksonville. And even with, I'll go as far as 2045, the projections, still those core areas are projected to have the most growth. The areas with the least, projected to have the least amount of growth, are those represented by my district, 10 and 8, and maybe a little bit of 2, and much less than what they project here, and much more in, once again, the greater Arlington Beaches area, southeast and southwest. And if you want to see this, you know, this is available online. I always hold on to all my paperwork. Thank you, Chair.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Clark Murray. I think, let me see. All right, we have no one else in the queue. So before we speak, I'll just, you know, as being a member of the LUZ committee, I'll just kind of throw my 2 cents in there. To me, it seemed more like a cast net approach, and I don't feel like a cast net approach is the proper approach for missing middle. I said at the start of this, you know, there might be 10 to 15% of District 5 where it totally works, where it makes sense, you know, but I don't want the 85 to 90%, the rest of District 5 to wake up one morning and then a duplex is getting built in the middle of a single family residential neighborhood. And, you know, to me, that doesn't fit. I know District 5 would say that doesn't fit. And is there a need for it on one hand? Yes, I do think there is more education, but you have to know that there's unintended consequences as well, which would be someone's going to build a bunch of duplexes and quadplexes and they're just going to rent them out, or they're just going to do a bunch of Airbnbs, and that destroys neighborhoods. It destroys neighborhoods. And if you don't think it does, then you have never had a community town hall meeting in your district. People do not like that in their neighborhoods. People are protective of that. They buy houses in neighborhoods because they bought it at the character and the fabric of that neighborhood the way it stands right there. So that's where my approach is. I think at LUZ, pretty much every single member wanted to carve their districts out of this anyways. So again, I'm not afraid of the conversation. I'm not afraid of missing middle. I do agree that there needs to be a more thorough conversation, a more detailed approach. I saw the map. I don't know if anyone else saw the map. The map was black and white, and it was zoomed out. I couldn't see anything. I couldn't see what streets it was. I couldn't see zilch. And that's just, how am we supposed to approve something in theory and concept where I can't go to my constituents and say, yeah, I think you're in, maybe you're not, I don't know. Like, that's just not acceptable. So those are my thoughts, and since we have no other speakers in the queue, we'll go ahead and take a vote on the amendment. Should we do a hand raise on this? All right, all in favor of the LUZ amendment, signify by raising your hand. All right, all opposed? LUZ amendment carries. All right, motion and second on the bill as amended. No discussion. Open the ballots, record your vote.
Six yeas, 1 nay.
By your action, you've approved 2025-0090 as amended. Yes, ma'am. Oh, go ahead. Councilmember Clark Murray, you recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Just quick comment to my colleagues on LUZ, Councilmember Amaro, Councilmember Arias. I couldn't be there. Boy, I wanted to be to that last meeting. Oh, I was trying to get there, but I had other work to do at my other job. I was trying to get there, and I text legislative services to let them know I won't make it. But thank you for the good work you guys did that night. That was some really good work because you thought about the people and what the people said in regards to this particular bill. So I appreciate your good work. Thank you, Chair.
All right, thank you. So item number 3 on the agenda, 2025-138 is deferred. Item number 4, 2025-189 is deferred. Now we're moving on to page 3. Item number 5, 2025-216. We have a motion and a second on the bill. No discussion. Open the ballot. Record your vote.
7 yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025-216. Item number 6, 2025-217 is deferred. Item number 7, 2025-218. Second, motion and second on the amendment. Can someone please explain the amendment?
Through the chair of the committee, the amendment attaches a revised Exhibit 1, which is the BT, to correct the balancing of accounts between the funds being transferred, and then also attaches a revised Exhibit 2, which is the CIP sheet, to reflect the prior year's amounts and the correct appropriation for a singular project.
All right. No one in the queue. All in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The amendment carries. Motion and second on the bill as amended. Councilmember Clark Murray, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I am not sure who should come forward. Is Miss Long or not Miss Long, Miss
Ledoux.
Stickler or Mr.
Mr. Ledoux is on here.
Mr. Ledoux, come on forward, please. I probably have, my questions are probably maybe a little more for Mr. Peterson as well, just to give you a little bit of a heads up in regards to this particular bill. Good morning, Mr. Ledoux.
Good morning. I'm Chris Ledoux, Chief of Traffic Engineering Division.
So my first question is, why is this project being added now?
Well, because there were several projects. There were 6 different projects that we used to do as maintenance items. But since they're over $100,000, now we must create named projects. So we had requested these as part of the normal budget process, but they were not funded. So what we're doing is we're transferring some of the money that we have in county-wide projects to these named projects to complete them. So that's why we're doing it now.
All right, thank you for that. Through the chair to Mr. Peterson, this amends the current CIP. What does this do in regards to the project list? Does this mean that another project is pushed down? How does that move? Because one of my questions that I've had since being on City Council is, when we amend the CIP, what does that do to the projects that are currently on the CIP? Because we're like 50 years behind in terms of projects on the north side. People have, bought their homes, grown old, and passed away, still waiting on the project, So how does that affect the list?
Through the chair to Councilmember Clark Murray. So Traffic Engineering Public Works will, upon approval of this legislation or any legislation that affects the CIP, will put out to bid if they don't already have a contractor on hand that can perform the work. And so it depends on the type of project that you're referring to on whether something adding additional project puts a delay to other projects. So under Mr. Ledoux's shop, who handles traffic engineering, intersection improvements, traffic signalization, if they're not backed up, the approval of this legislation, they'll just continue to move forward with these 6 additional projects. However, if they have, I'm making a number up, if they have 20 projects that they're working on now and you're adding 6 to it, they probably aren't going to get to these 6 in the next couple weeks or a couple months. It'll just get added to the queue. So it depends on the type of project you're referencing and then the type of project that are being added to the CIP on when a project gets completed.
Thank you for that. And in the little bit of, the time that I have left, Mr. Ledoux, come on back up. So where do you see this project in terms of the queue? Is there like a, I know we have the CIP, so is there a project list for like traffic signalization, and that is going to, this will go just add to the list, or how does that work?
Well, there's several different types of projects. Concerning traffic signals, there are new signals that we will put in, and because it costs over $100,000 to even do the design for those signals, we would create a named project through the CIP. We could do that two ways, and that's through the normal budget process or through the way we're doing it now, going through committees and getting these named projects in the middle of the year.
Right, I'm sorry to interrupt because I know I'm running out of time and I do not want to belabor this too much. But so say that you've gone through all those processes. This particular project is going to be what? It'll be at the bottom because we're adding it now? Or where does it go in the queue?
No, we hope to move on this fiscal year. These are our top priorities, and we have the money for them in other pots of money, basically. So we're ready to go to construction with most of these. I think there's one that we're going to design.
Okay, but it does not push another project down or out of the queue or put it on pause?
No, it doesn't. These were our top projects that we wanted to get done. We have a couple emergency projects where poles have actually been hit and knocked down and temporary poles are up. We have 3 projects that are rebuilds where we're rebuilding older signals that have a lot of maintenance problems. And then we have one project where we're building basically a U-turn lane and another signal phase.
All right,
thank you. To a signal.
Thank you, Mr. Ledoux. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Boylan, you're recognized.
Mr. Ledoux, don't go anywhere just yet. Just real quick. Come on up. I'm fully supportive of this project, of course, but I'm just curious, of the pool of intersections that you see need to be addressed, roughly how many are there like this? I mean, you must have had a larger number of intersections you were looking at, and you prioritized 6. Roughly how many others?
Well, I mean, that's a hard question to answer because we have over 1,200 signals in the city.
And I appreciate that, and that's kind of my point. There are many others that perhaps need this kind of attention as well. So we talk about infrastructure needs. This is one of the areas of great concern, I think, for all of us because it's a safety issue, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what is your determination? I think you spoke to it briefly on these particular 6. It sounds like some very specific rationale for those, outdated, run into, that sort of thing. Is that pretty much which brought these to the top of the list?
Yes, sir. The highest priority is the emergency work where something large has been damaged. A mast arm has been damaged, and that's several $100,000 to design and repair. And then the next would be the maintenance items, which is rebuilding existing signals. Basically, they've outlived their useful life. They're more than 30 years old, and they're prone to a lot of failure.
Right. My last question, really, $100,000 for a design? Is that a competitive bid process? It seems like an awful lot of money. I mean, it doesn't sound like it's brain surgery.
Thank you. And that's the going rate with our consultants in town. Depends on the complexity of the signal. Not every intersection is a little bit different, but yes, sir, they are going for over $100,000 almost every time.
I think it's going to be my next career, is designing traffic intersections. Thank you, Mr. Ledoux.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, there are no other speakers in the queue, so let's open the ballot, record your vote.
Seven yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you approve 2025-218. Moving on to item number 8, 2025-219. We have a motion and a second on the withdrawal. No one in the queue. I'll just go ahead and speak to this real quick. This is up for withdrawal only because I think Councilmember Peluso introduced the bill to raise the threshold for these DSR projects to $2 million. So obviously now they can kind of forego this whole process. They still undergo a process, but they just don't come to us anything over $2 million. So. Or anything under $2 million, excuse me. So, anyways, just thought I'd recognize that. So, open the ballot, record your vote for withdrawal.
Seven yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you have withdrawn 2025-219. Item number 9, 2025-221. Motion and a second on the bill. No speakers, no discussion. Open the ballot, record your votes.
Seven yeas, zero nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025-221. Item number 10, 2025-222. We have a motion and a second on the bill. We have seeing no discussion, we'll open the ballot, record your votes.
Seven yeas, zero nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025-222. Item number 11.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Item number 11, 2025-225. We have a motion and a second on the bill, and we will go ahead and get okay, we have a motion. So now we'll go through discussion. Councilmember Miller, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through the chair, Dr. Hervey, I just had a couple questions, if you don't mind. Through the chair to Dr. Hervey, I see in the notes here for this bill, and you spoke to it earlier, you said the neighborhood mini grant program that you all would be requesting outside of the normal PSG process. Why isn't that part of this process and the dollars associated with it? I'm assuming by that you're meaning you all will come back to the council asking for additional funds for the neighborhood mini grant program. Is that correct?
No, sir. Through the chair to Councilmember Miller, and I'm going to invite Chief Hernandez to join me here in case I misspeak. But that statement actually means that the grantees who will be requesting funding through the mini grant program would do it separate from the process for traditional mini grants, which are run through Ordinance 118. We'll be proposing that the mini grants be administered through Section 126, the procurement code. But you'll receive a request. It's actually separate legislation stating our budget recommendations, and you'll see there what we're requesting for both the traditional mini grants as well as, the traditional PSG grants as well as the mini grants. It'll be in one request.
Okay, so it's all covered under the money that's been allocated for this year's cycle.
Yes, that.
Through the chair to Councilman Miller.
Just name, just who you are, real quick.
Fourth category.
Can you just state your name real quick for us?
Maribel Hernandez, Chief of Grants and Contract Compliance.
Thank you,
sir. The fourth category, which cares for the small nonprofits, it's something 3 years ago in 2022 that Councilman Freeman first introduced, and it had been called the micro grant program for about 3 cycles. It had always been set up as a fourth category, zero-based, to come back separately for a request for funding for that. The mini grant program here, the name was slightly tweaked, but it's basically to care for the small nonprofits. The program itself that this particular one would bring forth is not completed yet. There is a request for funding through the budget process that eventually will come back to you. And once the program is completed, if we get the go-ahead to move forward, then the program itself will be also brought to City Council for approval with all of the specific stipulations around that. But it had always been set up to be zero-based and not to be funds taken from public service grants.
So through the chair, is there funding already allocated for this through the budget that was approved?
This particular mini grant program, there is not. There is currently funding approved for the year that we're in now for a micro grant program, which Councilman Freeman is leading the effort on. That is separate from this particular mini grant program. Okay. But the categories have to be established first per legislation or per the ordinance.
Okay, thank you very much.
Councilmember Clark Murray, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning to the two of you. Can you talk about how the categories of the most vulnerable persons can how it has changed?
Sure, thank you. Through the chair to the councilwoman. We are keeping the same categories, so the categories themselves and the descriptions have not changed. We've added a annual priorities, and you'll see that in your document as well. What has changed is the percentage allocation, and so we're proposing increasing by 5% the percentage allocated to our acute needs, and that's based on recommendations from subject matter experts in our community with input from the nonprofit sector as well.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
All right, we have no one else in the queue, so there's no further discussion. We can go ahead and open the ballot, record your votes.
Seven yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025-225. Item number 12, 2025-0226. Motion and a second on the bill. All right. This is, we'll kind of stick true here to council, allow Councilmember Johnson, I'm not sure if he wanted to speak on this or not, but typically all these strategic initiatives have kind of flown through all the committees, just again by the nature of they were in there, then they lapsed, then they weren't in there. So I believe he's already submitted this with a couple of others. So if there's any questions, we can direct it to staff. But Ms. Stefopoulos, you are
Mr. Chair, I would just like to point out to you and the committee, so as marked in the agenda, this is a change from his original proposed strategic initiative. So while he's using the dollars that were set aside, this is not an initiative that was proposed as part of the strategic plan or the budget process for this fiscal year.
Well, that puts us all in a very interesting situation. You want your $5,000, you got to come to committee. All right, Councilmember Romero, you recognize.
Very quickly, through the chair to Ms. Stefopoulos. Can you expound on the change?
Through the chair to Councilmember Amaro, with the exception that this was an initiative that he preferred to use a portion of his funding to fund. I can't speak to the specifics on why this particular entity or program. I believe that you'll find that Councilmember Johnson may have others that are different from what was initially proposed. He's identified some other uses of the funds that were set aside for his strategic initiatives. So you may see, similar to this, other legislation coming forward that would be different from what was discussed during the strategic plan and the budget process. I would have to defer to him on if you want more specifics.
Thank you. Through the chair to Mrs. Stefopoulos again. So are you saying that it's a different recipient from the first?
Through the chair to Councilmember Morrow, that's correct. His initial strategic plan initiatives were to fund Edward Waters University, to provide personnel and certified staffing for the Sam Newby Community Athletic Center. That was funded at an amount of $76,181. And he also had initially proposed allocating $125,000 to support Habitat for Humanity to address affordable housing, and that was partially funded at $95,227. Those were his two initiatives.
Thank you. To the chair, I know the councilman is not here, but obviously he has a prerogative as to who he wants to give the money to. It's a shame that he's not here to explain or defend his position. But thank you, Mr. Stefopoulos. I think I'm picking up the disease up here and pronouncing your name.
Yeah. Well, and I'll just, yeah. And I'll just say this, look, the process in place, whether you're coming asking for $500 or $1,000 or $500,000, the reason we want the council member here, and really the reason we want the recipient here, is number one, it's just common courtesy. Number two, it's respect for our staff not to carry your bill through committee. And so I'm kind of inclined to defer this. I was under the impression that it was kind of the same and it had already been explained through the original. So, and it's not, and also they're not here. I'm kind of inclined to defer it just out of the process. I want to hear, okay. We'll hear from Councilmember Salem, and then we're going to defer this bill, and we will move on to the next one.
Thank you, Chair. Allow me to speak before you defer it. I just want to bring to the committee's attention, this bill requires a waiver of 118.107. And there's legislation out there, has not been filed, but has been discussed that you would have to report your spouse's relationship to this entity, your children's relationship to this entity, and if there is a connection, these dollars would have to be put out for bid for some period of time to give others the opportunity to provide this same service before it could be awarded to this person. So that's, as I said, that legislation has been discussed. For whatever reason, it's not been filed yet. I've heard some things. I don't know if they're true or not. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that out to you. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you for pointing that out. All right. This is the last item, so we'll just go ahead and continue going through the queue. Councilmember Clark Murray, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I did second your motion to defer, to give the council member an opportunity to come to the committee to discuss this bill and to persuade us to vote for it. That's just all I wanted to say.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
No worries.
Got some backup here. Councilmember Peluso, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I mean, I don't think we defer this. There's going to be two other committees that this goes in front of, where many of us are going to be sitting on. I mean, just for the purposes of if it fails in finance or fails in rules, I mean, that's going to be it's going to give us a real indicator of where the council is on this. I've got no problem voting on this right now. This is not a number that scares me. And then just allow him to kind of show up to those other committee meetings.
All right. Well, unfortunately, it got assigned to us. So, no one's here. And again, Councilmember Johnson, if you're watching, this is just a procedural thing where we've kind of set the stage already. So we're just trying to do everything equal and fair across the board here. And that's that. So the item will be deferred, and I know Councilmember Johnson's on rules. And if it gets discharged by the council president, then so be it. But otherwise, let's see, we already took up 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 are all second reading. So with that, this meeting is adjourned.